Hello, malt mates. Hello, whisky travellers. And the quality curious, yourselves as well. I'm Ralphie. This is the Whisky Bothy, somewhere in the middle of the Irish Sea, and I am going to present a whisky review to you, number 1077. And it's a distillery single malt I'm featuring for the first time, for a very simple reason. It's a young distillery. It's only been on the go a relatively short number of years, and it's just recently they started making commercial bottlings available. This is Ardnahoe Balsa, named after caves on the island of Islay. It's bottled at 50%. It's a non-age statement, medium to heavy peated single malt with a distinctive Islay character. And I'm going to review this for you. I'm going to give you some of the smell notes, the taste notes, and of course, as always, I will conclude with a malt mark. But first of all, while the whisky is gently opening up in the glass, because as you know, we should never rush a good thing. Never ever do that. A little bit of additional information I would start with is that it says very clearly on the front label, no artificial colouring, because E150A is artificial. It is not natural. And it's unchill filtered, no chill filtering. So what we have is a very clear mission stated integrity bottling, which puts the flavour forward, which is what we're primarily interested in when it comes to single malts. Sure, you can use single malts in cocktails, and I can assure you, you will find some lousy ones which are suitable for cocktails, and they go great with ginger beer and Coca-Cola. However, the good single malts are made for sipping, and we get so much more out of the experience when we slow things right down. We smell, we sip, we add a drop of water, and we take our time. It makes all the difference. There's no point in rushing life, especially the quality stuff that we connect and engage with. So, on the nose, let's see how we're going to go. Now, this is natural colour. So I would suspect there's a combination of casks here, and basically a combination of ex-bourbon, ex-sherry casks. It's very generalised, very vague, because bear in mind, many sherry casks are in fact bourbon casks that never actually held bourbon. Right? They're made from American oak. So don't rely too much on the superficial information that you get from many producers when they talk about the ratios of sherry to bourbon and the interaction of other casks, because it can be very misleading. And to be honest, when is an empty cask an empty cask? Question. That's a rhetorical question. The simple answer is when the producer decides it is. Okay, so we're not criticising overtly here. We're just seeing things as they really are. And we need to do this so we can focus on the quality. How about the quality of this little beauty? The first Ardnahoe that not the first I've tasted, but the first where I've actually bought a bottle, because I got a taste from a friend from the inaugural bottling, which was very pleasant, and it let me see immediately that Ardnahoe have waited till their product is ready before they're bottling it, which is easier to do when you have something heavily peated, because as a young spirit-driven experience, the peatiness is highly desirable. It's appreciated by the connoisseurs. Oh, look out. Didn't take long, did it? You're not going to stick your bottom in front. No bottoms for the malt mates. Okay, Billy. It's Billy Bundle. Do you love your daddy? You don't love whiskey. You're going to shift out so I can get on with my review. Are you? Are you? Or am I supposed to? I don't have any treats. No, I don't have any treats. Go and have a wee check for treats yourself, will you? There you go. You go and see if there's any treats there, and I'll get on with the review. No. And your brothers here, this is getting worse. Get off the barrel. Don't you, now you two, behave. No hissing at your big brother. It's naughty. Should I start this review again? Are you going to get on together? You're going to behave? I'll give you treats later. Promise. Ardnahoe. This is certain things you need to know here to help get your bearings. But let's start with the nose here. Let's get stuck in. Crisp, fresh, slightly tangy, intense peatiness. Classic Islay peatiness, so it's slightly briny. It's got that, rather than twigginess, rather than bonfire, it's got the actual peat smoke peatiness. So you really need to get a piece of peat and burn it. So if you happen to be in Islay, just pick up a piece from the side of the road, stick it in your suitcase, and then just put a blowtorch to it when it's all dried out, and that will let you appreciate the raw ingredient that's used for the flavouring of the whiskey. So it's all there, slightly minty as well, touch of pineapple, a little bit of gentle nuttiness. I'm getting Brazil nut, slight Brazil nut note. The mint is quite prominent. There's an anise note right in the background, but it's very engaging. And this is it at 50%. You know, I've not even added any water yet. It's looking good. First taste. Sweet, dry, sour, heavily peated arrival. Charcoaly. Cola mint. Yeah, absolutely cola mint. I'm not talking Coca-Cola, I'm talking cola nut. There's a difference, a big difference. That mintiness is slightly salty. There's angelica notes in there. Sage, absolutely. A little bit of mixed, like Italian herbs. Thyme, sage, rosemary. I'm going to add some water now. The first connection with it is very positive. You can see there's a distinctive character there, and there's a fullness of flavour, which I personally attribute to the fact that Ardnahoe Distillery is a project from an established, well-established and very well-connected independent whisky bottling company, Hunter Lang. They have a lot of experience in the business, and they can get hold of casks and information, knowledge and experience if they need it. They're not completely starting from scratch. That makes a difference. Also, they've had the vision, and this is important, to use worm tub cooling at the distillery, because whatever the whisky industry tells you, you take with a pinch of salt. And I'll tell you why. Worm tubs make a huge difference in the delivery of flavour in a whisky. Now, it's not simply the fact that you think, oh, it's only cooling down. It's only the condensation vessel device for cooling the vapours that are coming off the stills. No. It is the prolonged copper oxide contact. Now, this is a mistake people make. They say, right, the thing about worm tubs is there's less copper contact. There is not any copper contact at all. All contact is with copper oxide. Oxidised copper. That's different. It's completely different. And what happens is it slows down and it focuses. So when distillate is condensing, it can either condense suddenly in efficient exchange coils, cold water steamed condenser coils, sometimes referred to as condensing sleeves, or else you can do it the more old-fashioned way with the worm tubs, which is a coil, a brief coil of copper of much larger dimensions, actually going into a bucket of cold water, literally, a very, very large bucket. But the effect is substantially different. And it's when you're tasting whiskies that have been cooled in the production stage using worm tubs. Mortlach is a very good example, that you get more elemental earthiness, you get more savoury notes. And Ardnahoe have had the vision to do this. One reason they can do it is because the local landscape allows it. There's sufficient water coming off the hills that they can basically do it. There's other distilleries, particularly in urban environments, they simply don't have the volume of water because there's no rivers. They're relying on what's basically a domestic stroke industrial water supply. So they're rather hobbled in this respect. But this is working really well. I'm going to add a teaspoonful of water. I know the first Ardnahoe came out just about a year ago, and it got a lot of reviews. I tend to kind of let things simmer down a little bit before I jump in with my reviews. I'm looking for not the first generation, but the second and third generation, because that lets you know that they're past the virgin moment where they're gathering a lot of interest anyway. Any distillery is when they're with their first ever bottling. So it's their third and fourth in the continuity of their bottlings. That's really what I'm interested in, particularly when they're affordable prices. This is available at an affordable price, particularly in relation to the strength of 50%. So I highly commend it to you. This is one reason why I'm not just reviewing it. I'm very happy to review it. A few reviews ago I reviewed 12-year-old Cragganmore, and I have to say it was very disappointing. I could really see the collapse in its reputation. And that's depressing, but what's encouraging is you've got other distilleries stepping up, and we're in that in-between stage where they're not discovered yet. People still think blindly that Laphroaig or Ardbeg's the best single malt from Islay, or perhaps Lagavulin. But unfortunately, you know, you look at the price, you look at the calibre of casks, you look at the chill filtration, the excessive chill filtration going into some of these brands, and you've just got to take them off your wish list, unless you want to be disappointed. We really have to constantly recalibrate and update where we are with whisky. Things are moving that fast. I've added some water. Let's go back to this, a wee nose and taste. I'm adding water, more lemon, a little bit more lemon, lime, mixed citrus juices coming through, a little bit of grapefruit pith. I get that quite a lot in whiskies. I do suspect it's something to do with my own personal palate, but I'm not 100% sure. But a lovely, engaging, fresh nose of a young single malt, which, if you're a heavily peated whiskey fan, you're going to enjoy this because it's more like, it really is ready. This is a distillery that's waited. They've not put their whiskey out at 3 years old or 4 years old. They've just hung on a little bit. And sure, we enjoy the novelty of a particularly young whiskey now and again, but not too often. Far from it. Taste. Getting spearmint, spicy peat, spearmint, apple mint, pineapple mint, all sorts of mintiness. A little bit of cranberry in the background, so a little touch of some cherry red fruit, cherry notes. I thought I noticed some cherry notes, but it is in fact cranberry because it's kind of dry fruit. I'm going to add another spoonful of water. Why? It's heavily peated, it's very young, it's 50%. If you're going to cut through the phenolic blast, you need to add water. I noticed recently that a little bit of Scotch mist was appearing the last time I poured this glass and let it lie on the shelf for about an hour or so. It takes its time to appear, but it is in there, so I commend Ardnahole for actually really not chill filtering. They're delivering more flavour, more impact, more substance of character, and that's the fact of it. Nose. Young, rounded. It is quite rounded. It's not Laphroaig Blast. It's a little bit more restrained, but the intensity is there. It is phenolically driven, absolutely. Classic Islay, totally. But this is a different style. There's signature to it. I'm really enjoying it. It's that mintiness. I'm coming back to the mintiness again. That mintiness, that slight apple note that's creeping in, cranberry note, sort of slight Brazil nuttiness. It's a new peat monster. And in my opinion, it's just going to get better and better. I just hope that the producers will not pump up their prices too high, too soon, for a very simple reason. 2025 is a very bad year to be trying that sort of nonsense. Simple as. Taste before we give the malt mark. Aha. The apple note's growing. There's a soft confectionery pineapple note in the background. The cola, it's cola honey I'm getting. Cola nut and honey. Cranberry, prominent. Little bit of what we describe as yeast umami, right? And in the finish, gingery. Gingers and tannins, soft tannins. But throughout, as one would expect from a young non-age statement, heavily peated single malt in its infancy. It is the peat. It is the peat blast that's calling the primary shot in this malt. Now, malt mark. Get out. No, stay down. You naughty pussy. Off to a good start. No, in fact, I'm going to give an extra mark. Extra mark. Because this is an exemplary presentation for modern small distilleries. So it deserves to be credited for that. 83 out of 100. There you have it, Maltmates. If you want to come back again, I'm going to be discussing as to whether non-age statements are worth it. Tune in.